We are actually very much right in the centre of Bolton here. And I think that's really significant about this building. This house was built in 1791. At the time, it was probably the biggest private residential house in the centre of Bolton. I remember being in the archive library and sort of going through, and a local historian was sat next to me, and he goes, "Do you know what's amazing about that house?" And of course, it all sounds amazing to me. Butler's pantry, wine cellar, I wish they still had that. He said, "It's got an inside toilet." He said at that period, there probably were no more than 4 or 5 houses in the whole of Lancashire which would have done that. So we don't know where it is, where it was, but it obviously made it that little bit more special as well. The person that built the house was called John Pilkington. And John Pilkington is a member of a family that had got a long, long history in textiles. They were sheep merchants and they were based up in Rivington. Clearly, the Industrial Revolution gets started, they were already in the textile business. The cotton that he was producing was called dimity. The closest thing to it now is denim, so it was workwear. He knew that that was what was needed. He also made contact with Samuel Crompton, the inventor of the spinning mule. But anybody, again, who's looked into Samuel Crompton's life know that despite this being one of the major catalysts for the Industrial Revolution, also knows that he died penniless. Never patented it, never made anything out of it. But John Pilkington commissioned him to put the spinning mule into his factory. And he actually took Samuel Crompton to what I guess now is the Royal Exchange in Manchester to show his invention to the mill owners. And from that, it began to take off. We do know that sort of John Pilkington, there was that connection, which probably means that Samuel Crompton walked through this house. Like many places, there was rebellions here against the mills being built. And so a lot of mill owners basically got together their own private armies. Many people will know about the Peterloo Massacre. The Peterloo Massacre was the government, the mill owners, the people being worried about what was happening. Their business was being prevented. They were scared of the masses. So there was the big march in Manchester at Peterloo. And then there was an army put together. But the biggest part of that army consisted of the mill owners' private armies. So he sent his private army to Peterloo, which means they would have fought against their own people. Where we are standing now in Bolton is actually pretty much the centre of Bolton. We know it's Bolton Town Centre, obviously, but it's pretty much the centre of it, because just over there is Churchgate, which was the sort of the original street with, the original church was there. You still see little bits of that sort of medieval village that it once was. And even before that, and this is me getting the information here from a Victorian history book that's in the library, and it was suggesting that about 2,000 years ago, there would have been a prehistoric settlement on here, because we're actually stood on an escarpment. If we could suddenly get rid of all these buildings around us, you would see the Pennine Hills. It's high up, there's a river going around it, it's quite a well-protected space. And before the church, the parish church that we've got now, what we've got is a medieval church. And when they demolished that, they found evidence again of stones that would have belonged to a prehistoric settlement. And they go as far as to the other side of, if we're looking here, you know where St. Peter's Way is? On the other side of the bridge, again, there was evidence of a burial site there as well. Apparently, it's quite common for prehistoric settlements to be able to have sight of their dead or where their dead are buried. It was a really important thing, but they had to be away from them. They didn't want them sort of hanging around, but they wanted to see them. So that distance would be about right, which meant this really is where Bolton started.